Hey, my name is Margaret M. Mitchell. I teach New Testament and Ancient Christianity at the University of Chicago Divinity School. This is a poor substitute for meeting you on the grounds of Swift Hall on Thursday and welcoming you into the conversation about the academic study of religion that constitutes the University of Chicago Divinity School. I've been asked to say just a couple words about my experience of the school. I can tell you that I myself did my master's and my doctorate here back in the 80s, and I have found the University of Chicago Divinity School to be the most vibrant and challenging and exciting intellectual and personal home that I could possibly imagine. And I certainly would wish that for you if you were to come and join us in the conversation. So what is it that makes the Divinity School such a vibrant place? I think one of the things about it is that there are no questions about the study of religion that we cannot ask, will not ask, do not ask. In other words, this is about unfettered inquiry into the study of religion. The second is that the conversation is only as good as all the people around the table. And one of the excitements for me as an educator and earlier as a student is that this is a place where everybody really loves to bring their A game. Everybody loves to be prepared. Everybody loves to be in that conversation because it's all the better for each person's unique contribution. A third thing is that we care a lot about serious engagement with the evidence for religion. And that includes live testimonies and ethnographic work. It involves textual evidence. It involves archaeological and material evidences, a whole range of things that are brought to the table for examination about all of the world's religious traditions, both historic and in the present. And that kind of inquiry is what makes the Divinity School a really crackling kind of place. The other thing to say is that there is a kind of reputation about Chicago that care about rigor. And I think in my experience, that's absolutely true. But I also, and I think my colleagues, both faculty and students and staff, are committed to the proposition that rigor is not bought at the cost of respect. And so a part of what makes our conversation so vital in Swift Hall is the combination of every question, every statement is subject to critique and examination, but persons are always due our respect. And so that's the kind of climate that the Divinity School aspires to be and seeks to live in to be, and that I have experienced it as such. So those are my comments on in general about the University of Chicago Divinity School, its spirit, its dedication, and its aspirations. So one of the distinctive features of the University of Chicago Divinity School is that we have one faculty that is engaged with students in the MA program, the AMRS program, the MDiv program, and the PhD program across the various areas of study. And that's very exciting because it means that we all are involved in all of those programs and work with students where they are and meet them in terms of their own particular intellectual quests, their vocational interests, and their path that includes the University of Chicago Divinity School. So I have advisees in all of those programs. I also work, as we all do, with students in the college, but I have advisees in all of those programs, and I tailor my advising both to the program in question and to the student in question. So the first thing that we do when you come on board is have an advising meeting in September and really get to know what is it that's bringing you here? What is it you want to do in your MA program? What are your goals? And I see my role as an advisor both to listen and then to return back to you what I'm hearing, and then to be a resource for you who ensures that you will be able to access the incredible resources that are at the University of Chicago for your interests. I tend to meet with my advisees at least 2 times a quarter, probably more than that. And I'm always engaged with them on email and talking with them about their work and their choices. But it is the case that the Divinity School is a place where students who are self-motivated will do particularly well. And so my goal as an advisor is to help those self-motivated MAs, MDivs, PhD students to reflect upon where they are in terms of their academic course of study, to make sure that they are asking the key questions at the right time, and to support their work. I would say also that in terms of the master's programs, in the MA program, one of my strongest responsibilities, as I see it, is to help students to think about their main intellectual agenda in the academic study of religion. When people come as MA students, they have a range of interests. So then the question becomes how best to use those 2 years of coursework and of extracurricular activities to follow their interests. That's my main goal there. In the Master of Divinity program, each student is different, and each student has a different reason for pursuing formal academic training to be a religious leader. And so in many ways, I want to reflect back to them what I see as their strengths in ministry, and at the same time also to ask, well, what about this? Or how would your ministry be different if you were to do this or that? And then for doctoral students, my main responsibility is to ensure that they get the deepest and the broadest possible training in their area of expertise, and that their own core skills, linguistic skills, research skills, writing skills, will bring them to the top of their abilities to function as research scholars and as those who publish significant works in our discipline. So there's some real commonality across all of those areas where I'm working with my advisees, but each of the degree programs has its own specific focus. And I would also just say, as a matter of advice, that students are encouraged to make the very best of every advising appointment and every appointment with any member of the faculty. So you're not limited to just your academic advisor. You should think the whole University of Chicago faculty is there as a resource to you. But at the same time, ask your questions. Be sure you seek out the best advice. But ultimately, what we're here to do is to help you to pursue your academic and intellectual and vocational goals. And that's what I see academic advising to be about. My own areas of study are New Testament and ancient Christianity. That is, the literatures and the material evidences of the early Christ cults from the 1st century through about the end of the 4th century. These are endlessly fascinating questions and issues. One of the courses I teach is on so-called narratives of the so-called rise of so-called Christianity. Where did it come from? What was it? Was it a school? Was it a mystery cult? Was it a Jewish reform movement? What was earliest Christianity? But then also, how did these things that under the name of Christ believing, how did they spread around the Mediterranean world? What were the mechanisms? Where were they successful? Where were they not successful? To what degree were they very much like their neighbors? And to what degree were they different? What was new and what was old, and so on. And this is an endlessly fascinating research area. It's also true that we have a great deal of evidence, especially literary source material, to examine from the earliest Christ-believing movements. And much of my work is on both the emergence of a Christian literary culture and I have a thesis that in many ways early Christians were members of a book club, and they created a literary culture that was able to pass down from generation to generation and from different location around the Mediterranean, which was a fascinating thing in itself. But at the same time, I'm also really interested in how once these texts, like the letters of Paul or the Gospels, once they're in circulation, how are they interpreted by various operators, various, in many cases, orators and orator bishops? How are they interpreted to substantiate what will become a Christian culture? My current research is especially focused on how the Bible was a problem for ancient interpreters. We tend to think of the Bible as sort of what to say, easy or non-controversial until the modern period, when all of a sudden we realized that we didn't live in a three-tiered universe. That story is false. In antiquity as well, there were clashes between the Bible and science. There were clashes about statements in the Bible that appeared to be ethically problematic or theologically problematic or even grammatically problematic. And so I'm fascinated with how early Christian intellectuals sought to reconcile their Bible with the rest of their intellectual apparatus and their culture. So my classes build this into the class, so that around the table in a class on the Gospel of Matthew, for example, students impersonate at various times in our class interpreters down through time. So when I taught the Gospel of Matthew in the fall, we had a Martin Luther around the table. We had an Origen of Alexandria. We had a John Chrysostom. Then we had modern interpreters like Ulrich Lutz or Hans-Dieter Betz or others in conversation around the biblical text of the Gospel according to Matthew. And so that's one of the ways that I try to bring the lively and sort of, what do I call it, live radio features of early Christian biblical interpretation and biblical interpretation down to the very present into the classroom. Much more to say about that, but the history of exegesis is itself a complicated conversation, and a part of what I seek to do in my teaching is to bring students into that conversation as active participants.